Hi everybody, welcome back to Patchogue Firearms Restorations. Today we're going to answer the question, what happens when you try to chamber a .308 Winchester into a .30-06? And then how do we fix it? Hang on, here we go. So this is what it looks like when you drop a .308 Winchester or try to chamber it into a .30-06 Marlin. What happens is the .308 Winchester, which has the same outside dimensions as the .30-06, will just drop all the way in and not allow the extractor to grip it. So there's no way you can get a hold of the back of this shell to pull it back out. To make matters worse, the owner of this rifle also dropped something down the barrel in order to try to knock the bullet loose, and as a result, that second object is also now stuck in the barrel from the muzzle end. So what we're going to attempt to do here is glue a threaded rod onto the back of this and pull it out from the back. So this is a .30-06 for what it's chambered for, and then threaded on this threaded rod is a .308 Winchester. And you could see the difference. Both the outside cases have the same diameter. I believe it's .410. And then up here, the bullets are exactly the same. They're both .308. They both have a 20-degree headspace pitch up here. And they have the same dimensions back here for the extractor, but because the .308 was so short, it fell in the chamber, and the extractor for the bolt couldn't grab the .308 and pull it out. So what I did here was I experimented with several different epoxies to see which one held the best. I tried Acroglass, but that pulled out. I tried Acroglass, and then I tried a little bit different mixture, like a percentage. But because it's 50-50, that didn't work. So what I settled on was JB weld and a threaded rod. So I'm going to attempt to glue a threaded rod onto the back of the bullet that's in this rifle. Let it set overnight. I'm going to invert the rifle, let penetrating oil go down in the barrel and hopefully lubricate the shell. And then we're going to put some washers and a bolt on the end of this and make like a little slide hammer, and maybe we could drive the round out of the back of the chamber. So the first thing I want to do is I want to prep that shell for the glue, and to do that I have a dowel and I glued some 180 grit sandpaper on the end of it. And what I want to do is rough up the back of that cartridge a little bit so that the JB weld sticks better. I'm just getting in there with some long swabs, cleaning out all the dirt off the back of that shell. You can see there's quite a bit of mung on it. I want to get that as clean as possible for the glue. Of course, I'm probably picking up a little bit of the dirt from the last time the firearm was used as well. But we'll get it. The other thing I want to do is clean up the end of this threaded rod and then put some grooves in it so that it'll accept more of the glue, and it'll have more surface to grip to on the threaded rod as well. Hang on, and I'll do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like before we do the glue up. Here's a close-up of the end of the threaded rod where I marred it up so that the glue will stick a little better. The other thing I want to do is I want to put some tape around the threaded rod to hold it centered in the back of the receiver. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to mark it with a Sharpie. And then we're going to put some layers of tape on it until it stays nice and centered in the back of the receiver where the bolt would normally be. So now we got the blue tape in the back. Everything is staying nice and centered. Now we can go ahead and mix up the glue and then drop this back in place with the mixed glue on the end. So you can see I only have the tiniest bit of glue on the end of this threaded rod. Now let's go ahead and insert it in and seat it on the bullet. Doesn't feel like I'm really down on it. Yeah, there's a little glue on it. Let me put just a little more. Alright, so we're down on the bullet. Now we're going to let it dry for 24 hours. Remember, anytime you mix up epoxy, keep the rest of the mix nearby, and you know when the object you're gluing is done, when the stuff left in your cup is done. So it's now 24 hours later, and I checked, and the glue that was left over in the cup is set up good and hard. So I'm going to try to just gently lift and see what happens here. And nope. Nope, pulled it right out of the vise. Well, one thing's for sure. The rod is definitely stuck on the back of the bullet. So now I'm going to go to plan B. And for plan B, we're going to invert the whole thing in the vise. And we're going to add some penetrating fluid down the barrel to hopefully let that soak for a day and maybe lubricate the bullet from the inside. Alright, I got some Permatex penetrating oil. Well, I'm sorry I didn't catch that on video, but I rigged up on the end of the threaded rod this slide hammer thing with my block. I gave it 2 good taps, and look what came out. Fully intact 308 Winchester. The only problem is now is there's still a chainsaw file stuck in the chamber. I'm going to have to figure out how deep that chainsaw file is in there. So I put this cleaning rod down into the action, and come to find out, in previous attempts they had filled the bore with grease, and that's what was keeping the chainsaw file inside the bore and keeping that from dropping out. So we have the chainsaw file out now, and we still have a whole bunch of grease packed in the bore, so I'm going to clean the bore out, and then we'll take a look with the bore scope and see what it looks like. Well, what have we learned today, kids? Well, we learned that if you have a .308 Winchester, you probably shouldn't try to chamber it in your .30-06 Marlin. And if you do get it in there, don't try to knock it out with a chainsaw file from the other end. As a matter of fact, don't put anything back down the bore that you can't get out to try to extract the bullet. Call a professional. Thanks for watching Patchogue Firearms Restoration. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next video. This has been a fun, challenging project trying to get this out. Glad I did it. Now we got a nice new souvenir for the owner. Have a great day.